We've all heard a ton about how powerful AI is, right? But how do you actually make it safe enough to use in places like finance or insurance, industries where even one tiny mistake can be an absolute disaster? Well, today we're going to break down a really clever architectural philosophy that was designed to solve that exact problem.
Just for a second, imagine you're asking an AI chatbot about your insurance policy. Something important, like what's covered in a medical emergency. And it gives you this really confident, super clear answer. But what if that answer is just plain wrong? A small hallucination? A little misinterpretation of a clause?
See, in a regulated field, an AI hallucination isn't just some funny error you can screenshot and post online. No way. It's a massive legal and financial liability for the company. And for the customer, it could be a life-changing, devastating outcome. This is exactly the kind of high-stakes problem that your standard off-the-shelf AI just isn't built to handle. So that brings us to the solution, and it's this elegant idea called controlled intelligence. The whole philosophy is built on one simple, but honestly pretty radical idea. The AI is never allowed to think for itself. It's not allowed to use its own memory. Instead, it just becomes one highly skilled piece in a very strict, completely auditable assembly line. Okay, so how in the world do you build a system where the AI literally can't get it wrong? Well, it all starts with 3 foundational rules that govern the entire process from start to finish. Everything, and I mean everything, in this system boils down to these 3 non-negotiable rules. First, you have to route the question in a smart, deterministic way. Second, you can only find answers from official, approved documents. And third, you have to check the work before a human ever sees it. So let's see what that actually looks like in practice. All right, let's dive into the first step. Think of this part of the system as a digital traffic controller. Its whole job is to figure out what a user is really asking and then direct that question to exactly the right place. So before any fancy AI gets involved, the user's question goes through this quick 4-step process. First, the system cleans up the text, typos and stuff. Then it pulls out keywords, things like claim or policy. Third, it figures out the intent. Is this a real question, or is someone just looking for the FAQ page? And only then, after all that, does it make a final decision on where to send the query. And this is where that traffic controller makes a really critical choice. If the question is simple, like, what are your business hours? It just gives a pre-scripted, deterministic answer. No AI needed, no risk. But if it's a complex question about a specific policy, then it engages the full AI pipeline for a deep, evidence-based search. So what's the big deal with that? What does that actually mean? Well, this one simple routing step can prevent over half, that's more than 50% of all unnecessary costs and hallucination risks. Just by keeping the big, powerful AI away from questions it doesn't even need to be answering. It's incredibly efficient. Okay, so a complex question got the green light to go down the AI path. What happens next? Well, now the system puts on its librarian hat. Its job isn't to know the answer from memory, but to know exactly where to find the facts in the official company library. This quote right here is basically the golden rule of this entire architecture. The AI is explicitly, totally forbidden from using its own massive internal memory bank. It is forced to look up the facts from scratch, every single time, from an approved, trusted source, no exceptions. And this is how that library is actually built. You can see it's not just a messy folder of documents. You've got the store, which holds all the official text. You've got the map, which is an index for super fast searching. And then you have the librarian itself, the search engine that uses specific filters to find the exact correct piece of information. So what the librarian finds and brings back is something called the evidence set. Think of it as a small, curated package of factual text snippets pulled directly from those official policy documents. This set is the only information the next part of the pipeline is allowed to see. It's the single source of truth. Now we get to the fun part, where the answer is actually created. But to keep everything safe, the system brilliantly splits this job into 2 completely separate roles. A writer, whose only job is to be clear and helpful, and an auditor, whose only job is to be factually correct. And here's that separation of duties. The generation layer acts like a friendly language formatter. It takes those raw facts from the evidence set and just turns them into a nice conversational sentence. But then, and this is the key, the verification layer swoops in. It's the compliance auditor, and it compares that new sentence word for word against the original evidence to hunt for even the smallest unsupported claim.
Okay, so this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? What actually happens when the system catches itself about to make a mistake long before it ever gets to you, the user? It has three incredibly smart safety protocols. It can force a regenerate, basically telling the AI, nope, try again, and here's what you got wrong. If the evidence itself is a bit fuzzy, it can go back to the user and ask them to clarify. And in the most critical cases, it follows the ultimate safety rule. It will refuse. If a factual answer can't be 100% proven by the evidence, the system will refuse to answer, rather than risk telling a lie. So when you step back and look at the whole thing, the routing, the retrieval, the verification, what's the big picture? Well, all these steps work together to transform AI from this unpredictable, mysterious black box into a completely transparent and trustworthy glass box. I mean, this side-by-side comparison really says it all. Instead of an opaque system where you just have to cross your fingers and hope it doesn't hallucinate, you get a transparent, auditable pipeline. It gives evidence-backed answers from real-time knowledge. It's a system literally designed to be safe for the industries that need safety the most. And the final piece of this beautiful puzzle is the permanent record. Every single query, every piece of evidence it looked at, every single check it performed, and every final answer, it's all logged. This creates an airtight, auditable paper trail that protects everyone. It gives companies legal protection, it gives developers a roadmap for debugging, and it gives customers peace of mind. So this pipeline provides a powerful, proven blueprint for making AI safe and reliable enough for the complex world of insurance. And that just leaves one big question, doesn't it? Which high-stakes industry, like law or medicine or finance, is going to be the next one to adopt it?